Hey, my brother, thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to come and speak to you. I'm pretty sure if, I believe everybody can see me, correct? All right, perfect. So I'm pretty sure when you were saying, Jonathan has cancer and Jonathan has two kids, I'm pretty sure people envision some older gentleman actually speaking to them. But no, my wife and I are both 28. We have a beautiful 7-year-old girl and actually just over a month-year-old son. And it's funny, very interesting how we met Ty and Vanessa. We were at an IKEA store. Literally, we met them. Our wives started speaking. Ty and I started talking as well. And we hit it off from there. And then literally that same exact week that we met Ty and Vanessa, my whole thing happened. Long story short, everything was going great in life. Career was going great. I worked for the Army here in the U.S. We had just moved into a home that we really loved. My wife loved it. Couldn't be any happier. My wife was pregnant. She was about going towards 8 months pregnant at that time. And life couldn't be any better, if you want to call it that. And excuse me. And literally, I went to the emergency room with some severe pain. I had no side effects up to that point. Nothing indicating anything at all. So I went to the doctor. They sent me over to a specialist, which is a urologist, and the urologist was saying, "Hey, you have cancer. You have a very aggressive form of testicular cancer." So of course, to me, life was going good. I'm very much in shape. I always score very well my military physical test. My wife being 8 months pregnant, that's not the kind of news that we wanted at that specific time. So you can just imagine what I was going through, but on top of that, imagine what my wife was going through. My wife was 8 months pregnant, where all of her focus was on the baby, was on our daughter, was on taking care of herself so that, come in a couple of more weeks, she can give birth. And now she's being told that her husband has cancer. Prior to this, we had no experience with cancer. We were pretty ignorant to the subject of cancer. So, the first thing that came to my mind, and I know for a fact came to my wife's mind, was, I'm going to die. The next words out of the doctor's mouth is going to be, "Hey, Mr. Estrada, you have X number of months to live." I know that was running through my mind like crazy, like no other, and my wife, like I said, we're both 28 years old. We're just starting life. So to hear that, it was, definitely a shocker. I had to undergo surgery where they actually had to remove the testicle. They actually had to remove one of my testicles. So thank God we have two, and thank God my wife was already pregnant at that specific time. Like Ty mentioned before, I'm actually undergoing radiation. So every single morning I have to wake up and I have to go do radiation. The side effects are kind of vary. The first week it was nausea, vomiting, sick to my stomach, headaches, things like that. The second week it's more like fatigue and things like that. But long story short, Ty knows, Vanessa knows, my wife knows about me. I am not the type of person to give the attention to cancer that cancer wants. We turn on the news any time of the day. We look at our Facebook feed, we look at our Instagram feed, and we just see a plethora of infection going all over the world. We see a plethora of disease, different things that are affecting us as a world, and we give it so much attention. We give it so much empowerment that it controls our life. And I come from a Christian background. Our home is a Christian home. My wife and I are Christian, and we are very proud of it. And like Ty mentioned before, you don't have to be, but the principle and the teaching is still the same. And I knew to myself that, hey, cancer is just an obstacle. It is just a story in my life, a chapter in my life. Now I can sit in my room, turn off all the lights, sit there with a sad movie, and sit there with a bowl of ice cream and cry to the world on how I'm 28, I'm married, I have 2 kids, life is going good, my career, X, Y, and Z, and I can just name things, as far as why I could be mad. Or I can use that energy for something positive. I can go ahead and change my negative situation into something positive, into something good, into something that's going to glorify God, and something that's going to teach other people that no matter what you're going through, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. Now, sometimes we get so blinded by our current situation that we don't see that light. We continue to tell ourselves, my relationship is not going good, my finances are not going good, my job is horrible, my car doesn't start, whatever have it be, that we continue to feed our minds. And unfortunately, we start to believe that. We start to believe that, to where our goals that we have are no longer there. Our goals of having a successful marriage are no longer there. Our goals of having a newer vehicle are no longer there. Why? Because we continue to feed our mind with so much negativity about our current situation that we don't let anything happen with it. I had a decision to make. I could have either been a cancer survivor and just let that be a bit of my story, or I can let that literally change my life into such a positive influence for not only us and to glorify God, but to share my story with other people. You know, I've always wanted to do motivational speaking. I've always wanted to do inspirational speaking, but I use this word, and I apologize if it offends anybody, but I never had the balls to do it. And Ty and I were talking about this. I actually had to lose one in order to get some, so that I can go ahead and start sharing my message with other people. And it's not a message of Jonathan Estrada, because guess what? I'm some Joe Smo. You've never seen me ever before. But just biblically speaking, we look through stories of the Bible. We look at Moses and how Moses was not a great speaker. He had a spokesman. He had somebody that spoke for him. But yet, how many powerful stories are there of Moses in the Bible? How many times has God used Moses as an instrument to influence thousands of people? Tons. You know, one of the most common stories of Moses is parting the Red Sea. Very, 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 very common. We hear it since we've been little kids. But he was nobody, quote unquote, special. He was an average Joe Smo that God used him as an instrument. And I am, I'm not technically healed or cancer free. My body doesn't know that I'm cancer free. My mind knows that it's cancer free. So I knew for a fact that I was not going to let this dictate my state of mind. As a matter of fact, I was going to let that use that for positive. I was going to let that situation make something positive out of it, and be able to honestly see how God has blessed my wife and I in our lives so much. You know, and unfortunately, I took things for granted. I took the little things for granted. The time that my wife and I share with our kids, I took for granted, the duck swimming in my backyard in the lake. I took all that little stuff for granted, and unfortunately, it took cancer for me to realize that. And what I'm going to say next may be kind of shocking to some of you guys, but I thank God for that cancer. I thank God, and I know that God allowed me to have that cancer. I know that God does not give his soldiers anything that they cannot handle. I know that for a fact. Not only because of what I read in the Bible, but because what I'm seeing in my life on a day-to-day basis. There's sometimes I don't know how I go. I make sure I go to the gym, not because I have a fitness goal, but because it's a part of me. It always has been. I used it for motivation. I use this for something greater than myself. And it's to influence other people, and I hope that my words have literally reached the message and reached the people that it needs to reach. No matter what situation you're going through, you always have a light at the end of the tunnel. The grass is always green. It's always green. You just have to find how God has blessed you in your life and the blessings that you have in your life, and run with it. I've met people in my life that have been so poor, financially speaking, have been so poor, but they are so happy. You couldn't tell them any otherwise. I've met people with broke down cars, and they are so happy, and they thank God for the little that they have. But unfortunately, we live in a world of complainers. We live in a world of, let me go ahead and jump in on the complaining. My life is this, my car is this, my marriage is this. That we don't sit back and really truly realize how much God has influenced us in our lives. And that's the quick message that I want to share with you guys is, realize how God has blessed you so much in your life. Realize everything that you have in your life. Stop focusing on the negative in your life. The only focus you should give to the negative is, hey, let me realize where I can change and what is negative in my life, and let me change it into positive. Let me change that into positivity. Let me change that for something good. Because you continue to give that negativity the attention that it wants, I guarantee you'll be 80 years old with so much regret in your life. because you gave attention to something that did not care about you. Cancer does not care about me. Cancer is not racist. It does not care about gender. Does not care about age, as you can tell. I know I don't look 28, but I'm 28. Cancer does not care about any of that. The negative the negative marks in your bank account does not care about you. But if you give it enough attention, you think it does. But the time that in the moment that you start to use that energy for good is when you'll start to see changes in your life. And my wife and I are so grateful for meeting Ty and Vanessa. I know it's not a coincidence that we met them just because. I know that for a fact. We did not meet just to become gym buddies. We did not meet just to share stories about family and kids. We did not. It was a greater purpose. And the more and more I sit down with them, and the more I tell my wife about it, because the baby's still young, can't really come out much. But the more I tell my wife about Ty and Vanessa, the more I realize that we met them for a specific reason. God wanted us to be with them for a specific reason. I am so truly grateful for the opportunity that Ty and Vanessa have given me today to share a quick message with you. And I reiterate, this is not by my own strength. It is not whatsoever. I'm just a man. God has given me the strength that I need to continue day in, day out. God has given my wife the strength to be able to see her husband, literally bent over on a sink throwing up while she's tending to our son. She has endured so much to where I am so thankful for her. You have no idea how much I am. And like I said, once again, Ty, thank you so much for the opportunity. That's the only message that I want to share with you guys, is to realize where the grass is always green. Realize how God has blessed you so much in your life, regardless of the current situation you're in.